Hey dreamers, my name is Yuki and today's topic is intrusive thoughts. These types of thoughts honestly ruled my life for the last few years. Seriously, I think all of 2019 I maybe cried for like 3 hours a day over fake, made up, imaginary scenarios in my head that are kind of just messed up. So, to start us off, what are intrusive thoughts? Intrusive thoughts are pretty much unwanted thoughts that cause you some sort of distress. A lot of times they're often violent or sexual in nature, so sometimes it might be something like about killing someone or doing something that's just completely against your values. Honestly, you probably think that they're really messed up, and if anything, you probably think that you're a messed up person for thinking about these thoughts. But the thing is, you're not. We have thousands of thoughts every single day, and we don't really know why these thoughts kind of come into play, but a lot of times they're related to different anxiety disorders such as OCD or anxiety, depression, things like that. Now, it's important to recognize that a lot of people have these thoughts. You're not alone. And it's also important to note that these thoughts are just thoughts. They are nothing else. And most importantly, they do not reflect who you are as a person. Now, the problem is that a lot of people don't know this about intrusive thoughts, and so they just think that they're actually just a messed up person. And obviously, because they're such messed up thoughts, you don't really want to share them with people because you don't want other people thinking that you're a messed up person either. And the other dangerous thing about these thoughts are the way we react to them. So besides believing that you're a total monster, the other thing that we often do is we start to ruminate about these thoughts. And ruminating is a process of pretty much obsessively, continuously thinking about these negative, unwanted thoughts or desires. And especially for maladaptive daydreamers, it can be really terrifying because we have very vivid imagination. So not only are these thoughts, but we begin to see images and pictures, and we create proper scenes that just continuously replay over and over and over in our heads. And we just can't stop thinking about them. And the problem with that is that the more we think about something, the more important we think it is in our heads. So how do we deal with these? So the first is obviously knowledge and awareness. Now you know that it's actually pretty common for a lot of people to have these, that these are just thoughts, and that you also believe that you're not a monster, that this can change. The second step is just awareness in general. A lot of times I wouldn't have any idea how long I would be in my head, in my thoughts, just ruminating for. So I began to just start tracking, and it can be super simple. I literally just got a whiteboard, and every time I caught myself ruminating about one of these unwanted thoughts, I would just take it down, and I would just congratulate myself. When you're tracking these thoughts, don't necessarily worry about stopping the thought immediately. Just, it's more important to become aware of it, and the more aware of it you are, the more you'll probably be able to stop it slowly over time. Honestly, every time I would catch myself, sometimes I would stop, but sometimes I would just continue, and that would be totally okay. The third step is to find your triggers. Do you notice that there's a certain feeling that you have whenever you begin to start ruminating or have these anxious and unwanted intrusive thoughts? For me, it was whenever I felt nervous, or whenever I felt scared, or was doubting myself, or just didn't believe in myself. I always found that I would just be in a bad mood, and then it would kind of cycle into it. Some of you may not have a particular trigger. Again, these unwanted thoughts sometimes just come up really randomly and out of the blue. So the fourth step is probably the most important step. It's a question or two that I ask myself, and the question is this thought or behavior serving me? And by asking myself this question, it gives me a lot more agency and control over what I'm thinking or how I'm choosing to behave, instead of just letting something just flow and continue the way it always has been. Now again, it doesn't necessarily mean that I stop every single time, but it does let me be a lot more intentional about it. So sometimes I'll just be crying, and I will just ask myself, hey, is this behavior, is crying about this fake scene in your head helping you right now? And I will kind of shake my head and say no, but sometimes I just need to cry it out. So then I ask myself, well, do you want to continue? And sometimes I'll say no, I don't want to, but sometimes I just really have that need and feel like I want to. So then I'll give myself maybe 5 minutes or 15 minutes. It's really up to you. You're going to have to get to know yourself and figure out what works best for you. And I set a timer and ask myself again in those 5 or 15 minutes, like, hey, now we got to do this for another 15 minutes and we gave ourselves this chance. Do you still want to continue? Usually after the first time, I'm pretty okay with myself, and I can just say, all right, no, you know what? I had my chance now. I got to let that thought just live its life, and now it's gone. Now I'm gonna let that move on. In the beginning, honestly, sometimes I would continue for like an hour or something like that. Like I might catch myself and just continue. But over the last year, I found that I've really been able to control a lot of these thoughts, and it's really mostly been through asking these questions and a couple other things too. So to sum it up, 1, a lot of people have these thoughts. You're not alone. 2, you're not a messed up person. 3, These are just thoughts, that's all they are. And 4, remember to ask yourself these questions. Is this thought serving me, and do I want to continue? If you're trying these out, please make sure to write about your experiences in the comments. I'd love to read about them, and I'm sure everyone else would love to too. Bye everyone.